In 1978, you believed a man could fly. In 1980, you believed he could peel the emblem from his chest and throw it like a giant cellophane tarp. In 1983, you believed a little synthetic kryptonite could turn the Man of Steel into a bar-fighting drunk who wrestles himself in a junkyard. And in 1987, you wished you had the power to spin the Earth backwards and erase whatever that was. Then, in 2006, he returned. But this time, the big blue Boy Scout must have had too much tar in his kryptonite. He was a stalker with super hearing, a deadbeat dad with X-ray vision. And now, the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast begs the question, what the heck happened to Superman Returns?
Look, up in the sky!
It's a bird.
Nah, it's a plane.
It's Superman Returns.
What the heck happened?
All right, everybody, we're here today to discuss the 2006 movie Superman Returns. This is the comeback of the Man of Steel, the Man in Blue, the big blue Boy Scout, but it landed with a fizzle with viewers and people at the box office. And here today to discuss it, we've got James D. Graves, my co-host and Man of Steel extraordinary. He looks like Clark Kent right there in the picture. And then we've got our look-alike of Lex Luthor right here, Jeff Johnson from the A Filmm By podcast.
I saw that one coming.
Jeff, how you doing today, man?
Hey, I am doing great. I think this one's going to hurt. You know, I love doing these What the Heck Happened episodes with you guys, but this one's going to hurt a little bit.
Hey, I just got to say, since there might be some new viewers or listeners, everybody welcome to the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast. If you are, in fact, Shirley fans, or if you want to become Shirley fans, you will be different. Sometimes you'll feel like an outcast, but you'll never be alone. You will make our strength your own. You will see life through our eyes. And as your life will be seen through ours, the Son becomes the Father and the Father becomes the Son.
Nice.
Gives me chills.
All right, guys, let's get into it because this week we are discussing Superman Returns from 2006 to Batman and Robin of 1997. Last week we talked about Batman and Robin 1997. That movie was a steaming pile of crap. I don't think you can say the same thing about this movie. I don't think it's a steaming pile of crap, but there are some things that went wrong so that it wasn't very successful. People didn't like it. People didn't really take to it. And so I'm anxious to get into that with you guys. Dee, why don't you start off? Tell us how you saw this movie the first time and what you remember about it.
I believe the first time that I saw this, I was a new father, so going out to the theater was not something that I did at that time. So as soon as it was available on DVD, I rented the DVD so that I could watch it. And quite frankly, I enjoyed it. It made me smile the first time Superman shows up and he does the throwback line to the original Superman movie. Yeah, it actually wasn't until I talked to my new friend Jason Colvin that I found out that people didn't really like this movie.
Jeff, what about you?
I can tell you, and A Film By podcast listeners have heard this story before, but I was hearing about the movie from behind the scenes a year before it came out because my best friend, Brad Kozo, who lives in Los Angeles, he was out with friends hanging out one night. They ran into Bryan Singer and some of his friends. They all had a great time. They ended up back at Bryan Singer's place hanging out where Bryan Singer was like, hey, check out some of these dailies. And, when I got that call from Brad about what he had seen and what was going on, my mind was blown because this is, I'm listening about Marlon Brando's cameo months and months before it was ever mentioned anywhere. So I did end up seeing this opening day. I'm a huge Superman fan. And like Dee, I was a little surprised to find out that maybe this wasn't the movie people were hoping for, and it didn't land as well. I mean, ultimately, it makes $400 million. So it succeeded. It just didn't succeed to the studio's expectations.
To me, the interesting thing about Superman Returns is its kind of journey from not only Superman 4, but Superman 2. So really, you can almost go back to 1981. We've been waiting for this movie since 1981. I've always thought that Superman 3 sucked. It was not the movie I was interested in. I thought it was the Richard Pryor movie with Superman kind of adjacent. Now, Superman 4, we discussed, go back to our season 2 episode, our first What the Heck Happened episode. And we talk about the Salkinds and their meddling and their obtaining of this franchise and what they did to it. And it was just a big disaster.
Well, the Salkinds were the ones who did the original series. They were the ones who did Superman
Right.
1 and Superman 2. It was the Canon Group that ultimately ended up with the rights to it. And the Canon Group is the one that gave us Superman 4.
You remember how the Canon Group got a hold of this property? I believe it's because Supergirl did so poorly that they lost control because they were out of money and they spent all this money and so they lost control of the property, gave it over to the Canon Group because Supergirl was so bad, which I've always said that is the worst DC movie. To me, it is way worse than Superman 4. I hate Supergirl.
I'll tell you, there's some Warner Brothers superhero movies that maybe you haven't seen because Supergirl maybe not the worst.
Wow. Okay.
Looking at you, Jonah Hex. Sorry.
Oh, I have seen Jonah Hex.
Yeah, I'll take Supergirl over that one any day.
All right, so today we're going to break down what we think worked, what we think didn't work, maybe some trivia tidbits, and then we're going to compare this to Batman and Robin, 1997.
Well, I hope this experience hasn't put any of you off flying. Statistically speaking, it's still the safest way to travel.
I guess let's start off with, Dee, what do you think worked for this movie?
Well, a couple of major factors. Number one, Brandon Routh as Superman was a pristine choice. He looks exactly like Superman looks. Like he's got the perfect face, he's got the perfect physique. He is Superman. And not only did he give us Superman, but he did, without going overboard, a very solid homage to Christopher Reeve, who I think is always going to be our Superman. He certainly, when he was playing Clark Kent, it was definitely a throwback to all of the Christopher Reeve stuff. So that hit the remember buttons for me very nicely. And then, of course, using John Williams' score from the original Superman movie was a huge plus for me as well. The special effects in this were actually pretty solid. I mean, you guys know how I feel about CGI, but I mean, we talk about that first scene with the plane and the shuttle. All of that obviously was done with CGI, but done very well. And incredibly intense, incredibly exciting, great end to the whole sequence, just flawlessly executed in my opinion. Kevin Spacey, another solid choice. I mean, if anybody's going to come in and fill the shoes of Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, Kevin Spacey is another fantastic casting decision. I know that you guys are going to disagree with me on this, but I actually enjoyed Kate Bosworth. I felt like she played an intelligent, although I didn't even know that she was very young at the time. But I thought she played an intelligent Lois Lane, certainly more attractive than Kidder. What's her name?
Kidder.
Margot?
Action Margot Kidder. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, yeah. Kate Bosworth substantially more attractive than Margot Kidder ever was, even in Playboy. And so I think there's a lot that went right with this. I think that Bryan Singer made a lot of great choices. I mean, he's coming off of X-Men on this, and he knows how to do superhero movies. I feel like what he chose to do on this was more in line with what Richard Donner had as his vision for the first one, where it's more about story and cinema than it is about action and adventure. And I know that again missed for a lot of people, but to me, I thought it was well done.
Jeff, what about you? What did you think he did right?
I think he did the first 41 minutes and 56 seconds pitch perfect right. We get the optics, the title optics, the font. This is an absolute love letter to Richard Donner's Superman. So from the music, from Williams' music, I think John Ottman is jumping in to compose on this one. He's using Williams' score, which is fantastic. And from the beginning, like kind of connecting us to Superman 2, letting us know like this is what happened and this is where he's been for 5 years, and bringing us back in. We get that little bit of an origin where we see a young Clark Kent discovering his powers. The picture's gorgeous, and like I said, the first 40, 41, 42 minutes is just perfect. Gotta agree with D here. Lex Luthor, played by Kevin Spacey, he absolutely nails it because he's menacing, but he also is doing a subtle wink to Gene Hackman with his sarcasm, and I think it's fantastic. I absolutely love Kevin Spacey in this. I think he's definitely a top 3 Lex Luthor for me overall. And totally enjoyed him. And I alluded to this earlier, but seeing Marlon Brando as Jor-El in The Fortress of Solitude just gives me chills. I don't care how many times I've seen this movie. You got my full attention when Jor-El, when he puts that crystal in, Jor-El starts talking, and it's Marlon Brando. Absolutely love that.
Yeah.
And one more time, I'll agree with D. Brandon Routh. I mean, you got to remember, he is in like 2004 or 2005. He is discovered by Bryan Singer in Lucky Strike Bowling Alley. You know, he's tending bar, and Bryan Singer basically says, I don't care if he can act. He looks just like Christopher Reeve. That's my Superman. And you're not going to say no to being the next Superman, especially when you're trying to get discovered in, you know, Hollywood in 2005. So
yeah.
Fantastic.
I love it. Okay. Well, for me, you know, I was pretty critical of this movie when I first saw it. There were some problems with me that I think were huge missteps, but upon rewatch, I have softened my stance on this movie. You know, Dee and I, we've talked about, I think this is one of the movies we talked about on one of our long jogs in 2009 when we first were getting to know each other. I never really enjoyed this movie, but upon rewatch, this movie is beautiful. It is gorgeous to look at. It is subtle. It is skillfully made. I think what you see on screen is what I go to movies to watch. I felt like A Man Can Fly. I felt like the effects were good. I felt like the action when presented was fantastic. The airplane crash that's what I go to cinema to watch. That part was fantastic. Just to kind of double down on you guys, I do have Brandon Routh written down. I thought he was great. I thought he was not a Christopher Reeve impersonator, but it was an homage, right? I thought he did very well in what he was trying to do. I thought Kevin Spacey was a great Lex Luthor. But to me, my favorite character in this whole movie was Frank Langella's portrayal of Perry White. I thought he was great. I thought he was sort of fatherly, but not jerky. And I love, there's a scene in the movie where they're looking at pictures that Jimmy Olsen has taken. And he's like, you know, Jimmy, what did you take here? And he's like, it's a bird, it's a plane. No, and then knock, knock, knock. It's Clark. I thought that was genius, right? I thought that was incredible. And then just like you guys, seeing the cutout, like the outtakes of Marlon Brando as Jor-El, when I saw it in a theater, I was like, wow, that is fantastic. I don't know how they got the rights to do that. That's awesome. And then, of course, John Williams' score, absolutely incredible. It is Superman to me. It really sealed in what they were trying to do. So to me, there's so much to like in this movie. It can nearly overcome its missteps. Nearly.
I just wanted to say this since you mentioned Frank Langella. My earliest movie memory as a very little kid, like it probably was 1978, and it wasn't Superman. My family took me to see a double feature as a little kid of Young Frankenstein and Dracula. Wow. And I can still to this day remember seeing that last scene in Dracula where Frank Langella's face is like starting to peel off as he's being exposed to the sun, because I was just, I'm a tiny little kid and I'm just like, oh, what is going on? Intense memory from probably back at the same time that Superman was rocking the theaters.
Dee, you and I are in tune right now. I was just about to say, when I hear Frank Langella, I think Dracula, Skeletor, Perry White. That's my big Langella 3.
I forgot about Skeletor. That was a good one. You know what else I thought was cool in this movie? I'm just going to drop one more thing. The fact that, you may not even know this, Dee, do you know the old lady that Kevin Spacey is milking for her money before she's about to pass away? Do you know who that was played by? The old lady?
No, this is one of those moments as I was watching the movie that I'm looking and I'm going, dang, she looks familiar. And I was thinking, okay, I'm going to pause it. I'm going to go figure out who she is and dive down that rabbit hole. And basically I just said, no, I'm just going to sit here and watch this movie. And I completely forgot that you mentioned it just now. So
she sounded so familiar.
Yeah, who is
I couldn't place it.
Okay, I'm going to blow your mind here. Okay, so the old lady that Kevin Spacey's taking all the money from so that he can get back on his feet and be master criminal, whatever. That woman is played by Noel Neill, who played Lois Lane in the 50s TV show, The Superman.
Oh, yep. Nice. Fantastic. Oh, that's a great.
She was Lois for the George Reeves, right?
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. How about that?
That is fantastic. So, also, side note, that first scene, excellent. Like when you see that whole moment as he obviously is signing her name and then walks out and the whole family is out there and he hands his wig to the little girl and she screams. I mean, that is cinema gold right there, guys. I loved it.
Okay. You guys ready to talk about what does not work in this movie?
Sure. I can talk about that. Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
That place was a graveyard. I'm all that's left.
Problems with this movie. D, kick us off, man.
Well, the easy and obvious choice that I honestly really didn't clue into is the fact that Superman is using his X-ray vision to spy on his ex-girlfriend.
That he breaks into her house.
Yeah, that's later on. But I mean, honestly, like he's certainly done that. He did that in the first one, you know. He shows up on Lois's deck or whatever. But the kind of spying without letting her know that he's there, that's a little creepy. I didn't pick up on it, but I can also say, as you know, I don't know that I don't think I'm alone here, that whenever your heart is broken, sometimes you may linger on your drive by your ex-girlfriend's house. And if you had x-ray vision, you might use
Oh, but
might. So that's, I mean, really, that's the biggest problem that I have with this movie is the kind of weird behavior that he has when he realizes that Lois is with this other guy. But I thought, yeah, that's about. I won't go on. Jeff, you go ahead. Give us what you got.
Well, if I could, a quick rebuttal to that scene, because Jason, I know you and I talked about it a while back, and I know you're not a big fan of it. I think this is kind of the situation, like he's talking about, like you're going to drive by your ex-girlfriend's house. I think this is the situation where when your buddies are telling you that, hey man, she's doing better, she's better off, she's happy now. And you don't want to believe it until you look across the bar and you see her with the new guy and you see that he's actually a decent guy. You need to see it for yourself. And I feel like this is him just giving himself like the big hurt to say, hey, I need to see it for myself. Jimmy Olsen has talked about how she's a mom and she's all happy, and he just needed to see it. And is it creepy? You could argue that it's creepy, but at the same time, it's not like he's, they're in the kitchen. It's not like she's stepping out of the shower. If you really want to get technical, I mean, our guy Chris was spotting Margot's panty color. I like pink very much, Lois. So it's not like he's doing that. He just needed to see for his own eyes. So I have less of a problem with that than a lot of people. But if we're talking about what doesn't work, I gotta disagree with you, D. The 22-year-old Kate Bosworth as Lois Lane, it does not work for me one bit. I don't think she had any really good chemistry with Brandon Routh, and there were just so many better options to go with. And I get that she probably got this because she was in Under the Sea with Kevin Spacey, the Bobby Darin biopic. Mm-hmm. I get that that's probably what gets her this spot, but I just don't think she was right for it. That's probably my main thing. Other than that, I think not having a physically imposing villain for Superman to face off with, even if it's like the muscle, like a Lex Luthor muscle, we could have had like a Metallo, or we could have had you could have had anybody, honestly. We just needed him to throw a couple punches, And then lastly, and Jason, I know you're going to talk about this a lot, so I'll just mention it and I'll let you go up and away with it. The vagueness surrounding whether or not Jason White is or is not his son doesn't work.
Okay, so you're going to have to fill me in. What's vague? Like, at what point do you go, is he not? Like,
well, okay, so first off, there's a prequel comic that DC does that in canon confirms that Jason is in fact Richard's son. There's a moment where Lois is in labor and she calls out, Jason, I can't believe I let you do this to me. And it's pretty much established that he is in fact Richard's son. On top of that, there's the whole, he's Jason's son. She's really protective of who his natural father is. And then we get to the ending on the boat, and then it's like, well, wait a minute, he's got to be Superman's son. And it's something that would have been fleshed out in future sequels.
Yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon that the movies will take some sort of established storyline and give it to you in a different way, though. And I think that was probably the exact intention was, use this same character where anybody who's reading the comic books knows who he is, knows that he's Richard's son. And then that makes the reveal at the end, 3/4 in. That's a fantastic plot point that mm-hmm. I wasn't expecting. I mean, you present the kid with asthma and a sickly little kid who, isn't brave enough to do anything. And then you have this brilliant little moment of foreshadowing where Lex Luthor is holding the cylinder of kryptonite, and he sees on little Jason's face this kind of fear that's very subtle. And he specifically asks her at that point, whose son is this? And she says it like it's and I didn't catch it when I first watched it. I was very nicely surprised when suddenly the kid throws the piano across the room. So I mean, I gotta fight back on this one. I think this was a great idea. There wasn't any ambiguity at all. It was we're we're bait and switching you because you think you know what's going on, but we're going to trick you. And that was the whole point.
Think about how hostile she is towards Superman. I'm talking about Lois. Once he's back, she's giving off some real jaded ex-lover vibes.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't really establish the fact that this is connected. This is the true sequel to Superman 2, where the last time we saw Lois, Margot Kidder is giving a dynamite performance about how is she going to walk into the planet every day and see Clark and know that she can't be with him and talk to him. He does the super smooch, which erases her mind. And so, and then it's like, well, then he flies off for 5 years and what happened? Was it midichlorians or immaculate conception or does she remember that she was with Superman?
Okay.
Because
that's the question.
I don't think to me, I don't think it's a question. I think she thinks it's Richard. I think she believes that Richard is the father. I think that once she gets the super kiss at the end of Superman 2, all of the memory of what has gone on with Superman becoming human and them having their little tryst in the Fortress of Solitude, it's gone. That means it's not like she's a hussy for like going out and hooking up with a dude a couple of weeks later, which would be fine to not know exactly the timeline of your gestation, I guess. So like that all makes sense. She thinks it's Richard. She meets Richard shortly after, according to this storyline, shortly after Clark and Superman leave and hooks up because it's a reasonable thing to do. I think she thinks it's Richard.
So if that is the case, Dee, if she thinks it's Richard, and then at the end of this movie she realizes I have had sex with Superman, we have made a baby together, and he's hiding this from me, I've been duped. What kind of person is Superman in that instance?
Well, but Superman she knows that Superman didn't know that this kid existed either, right?
He knew that he had sex with her.
He knew that he had sex with her. He didn't know that he impregnated her.
Well,
I know, but I think what Jason's saying,
he knows his sperm is like super powerful.
He was human. He was human when it happened. He had lost all of his power when they hooked up.
Here's the thing, though, Dee, and I think what Jason's trying to say is, it doesn't matter if he knows. The fact that, like, if we're going with your version of it, and she realizes that, hey, this must be Superman's son at the end of it, then ergo, I've had sex with Superman, but I don't remember that. When did it happen?
Right.
How did it happen?
Here you go. That's a great storyline for the movie that comes after Superman Returns. Like, she's got to figure out what is going on, which I think is a great story. Like, I would want to know, like she has got to go back and rediscover everything that was erased whenever he gave her the super kiss. That seems like, for an investigative journalist, a great storyline to me.
Yeah, that sounds like the trial of Superman sexual assault, and I don't want to see that movie. But Dee, there's two, because I needed a definitive answer. I was like, well, obviously there's one that exists, but there actually isn't, and there are two very fascinating rabbit holes you will find online to go down. That answers the question and makes Superman not a creep in the whole situation. So, theory one, or conspiracy theory one, is that while she was with Superman at the fortress, and he has the machine that does messes up your molecules, and Lex is like, he switched it, turned it on, and he was safe in there, and we were out here. One theory is that something happened to her DNA that introduced a Kryptonian genetic, and that it's Richard's son, and she's the carrier, and she's the reason why this kid Jason has the superpowers. So that's a cool one.
I love it. Yeah,
Superman is not a creep in that one.
Yep.
The other theory is that the super smooch does erase her memory that Clark Kent is Superman, but it does not erase her memory that she was with Superman. And in that situation, her whole jaded ex-girlfriend vibe that she's given off of this movie is really justified, because he flies off for 5 years and just leaves her. And she knows that she's pregnant with Superman's child. And because she wants to protect Jason, and she wants to protect him from doing too much and being too rambunctious, she kind of gives him the inhaler and kind of, hey, you need this and you're sick. And not my theory. Just when I found it makes Lois Lane a little not the greatest mom, but also she's trying to protect the son. So, either one of those theories works and doesn't make Superman a creep for.
So I think that second theory is dumb. I mean, it's ridiculous. She would remember parts of it and not all of it. Like, that That doesn't make sense.
The super kiss is dumb, but
The super kiss is dumb. But
Yes, it's dumb. That's true. But I like this. I like the concept of what happens whenever Superman turns on the machine.
Mhm.
If we just think about it this way, if we think it's like an on-off switch, right? For those who have some sort of Kryptonian DNA. So all three of the supervillains get switched off, and the DNA that's inside of Lois gets switched on.
yes,
Which is how we get past the whole Jay and Silent Bob. No, that's not it. That's not. I'm sorry. It's the
Mallrats.
Mallrats. Yes, the Mallrats problem of Superman blowing her back out.
Yeah.
But they're engaged.
Doesn't matter, it can't happen.
Why not? It's bound to come up.
It's impossible. Lois could never have Superman's baby. Do you think her fallopian tubes can handle his sperm? I guarantee he blows a load like a shotgun right through her back. What about her womb? Do you think it's strong enough to carry his child?
Sure, why not?
He's an alien, for Christ's sake. His Kryptonian biological makeup is enhanced by Earth's yellow sun. If Lois gets a tan, the kid could kick right through her stomach. Only someone like Wonder Woman has a strong enough uterus to carry his kid. The only way he could bang regular chicks is with a kryptonite condom. That would kill him.
It's a superhero
He
secret.
gave her some dormant Kryptonian DNA, and then he, in his machine, inadvertently, because he didn't know, flipped the switch and turned on the superpower of the DNA.
he was not wearing
Yes.
his kryptonite condom, right? So, I mean, just to kind of expand, that's my biggest problem is the child. Okay.
Yeah.
And either seemingly, and I think there are ways you could kind of write your way out of it. Like Jeff, you and I were talking, there's ways to kind of wiggle around this and that they could have employed, but they didn't. So either he roofied her with the super kiss, which that makes him a bad guy, which that's not Superman. We don't want that. Or, well, that's pretty much it. I mean, it just seems like he roofied her. Like he gave her the super kiss. She became pregnant. He erased her memory. And now she's like, holy crap. I have a kid who's super. What the heck happened? What the heck happened?
Okay. So I understand that Superman obviously has X-ray vision. Okay.
Yes.
And when she asked him, or when she's smoking and he wants to check for lung cancer, he can do that. But here's what has to happen for him to be a creep in this. He has to know that he has impregnated her. I mean, they had sex in the 70s. Nobody was wearing condoms back then. Okay? Nobody.
1981, but keep going.
Right. I mean, still nobody. Like this is the leftover, right?
But sailors, babe.
And so in order for him to know that he had impregnated her, he would have had to really analyze at the microscopic level what's going on in her ovaries, which I think would make him even more of a creep. I don't think he knows. I mean, from the movie, it's obvious he doesn't know, or he would have. It would have been more. You watch his behavior. He is shocked to figure out that this is his son and not Richard's. Like in the movie, he's shocked. He didn't know. There's no way he knew.
He knew he had sex with her.
Of course, but dude, are you telling me you got a girl pregnant every time you had sex with her?
He's Kryptonian. We don't know what will happen.
Here's the
Right,
thing,
but
though.
that's what I'm saying. You're saying he had to know because he had sex with her. No, that's not what happens. People have sex and they don't get pregnant. There's no reason for him to automatically think that he did.
I'd like though. It's irresponsible. In my opinion, it is irresponsible for a god to have sex with a mortal and be like, we did, see you later. I'm out of here for 5 years. And erasing your memory.
Hold on. The one thing about Superman, he can't be completely all powerful. He has to have some kind of weakness, and clearly the weakness is his pullout game. That's where I'm at with it. He thought he was good. He slipped one past the goalie there. That happens.
I mean, if I'm really being analytical about this is the first time Superman's ever had sex.
Right.
Yes.
No. What does he know?
That's even more irresponsible then, Just you got to stay around just to make sure everything's cool, instead of taking off for 5 years. Deadbeat.
Oh.
So I have moral issues with this, but like you said, D, he had given away his superpowers at that time, which brings up another issue. There's continuity issues, I think, between the Reeve movies and this movie. So he was mortal, but yet Jason has superpowers. And okay, we can kind of explain that away that, the DNA didn't change, whatever. I don't really care. But I wanted to ask you, Judge, Judge D. How does Lex Luthor get out of jail? What the heck is up with that?
Well, it's interesting that you say that. Okay, so 86. What was Superman Returns came out in 87, correct?
Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
2006.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant. So, yes, sorry. Superman 4, The Quest for Peace comes out in 87, right?
Yes.
Right. So, if we fudge a little bit and say that they filmed it in 86, right? And it takes place in 86.
Okay.
Last thing that he says to Luthor is see you in 20. Do the math.
Yeah, but okay.
I never thought about that.
I
But
mean,
also,
he didn't murder
Their
anybody.
weapons,
He
though?
didn't get life in prison. He got a lot. He got 20 years. But after 20 years, he's out. He knows the way to get money because his fortune's gone.
well, yeah, but at the end of Superman 1, beginning of Superman 2, we know that he gets life plus 25. Because remember when he's in the laundry asking what does the greatest criminal mind get? The guard's like, life plus 25, Luthor. I think what we're dealing with, and they kind of dropped this in the movie Superman Returns, he appeals. Superman's not there to be the star witness and say this is what happened.
That's right.
And because of that, due process, right, Judge Graves?
Yeah, you go through the appeal process. Superman has disappeared to go try to find Krypton, which is that is a little weird. Like, I don't know what's going on with that. And I understand that it's got some relevance in the comic book timeline, but they didn't flesh that out as much as they should have in the movie.
They should have done a little bit better. Like we get that little blurb at the beginning, like, hey, 3 Kryptonians just showed up. They were assholes, but maybe there's others out there that are decent like me. So you go on a away mission.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. They actually pointed out there was no one there to fight against his parole or his appeal or whatever it might have been. I didn't pay that close attention to it.
Couldn't have pulled Schumacher out to say anything and give an account.
Yeah, she's an accomplice. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Okay. All right. And I do agree, Jeff. Kate Bosworth, her age doesn't match up. I mean, she's 22 when she films this. 5 years before, she'd be 17. It doesn't even take into account the time it would take to get to the Daily Planet beat reporter position.
I think if you want to believe Kate Bosworth as Lois Lane, then you have to assume she probably dated either Harold Wormser from Lambda 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 or Doogie Howser, because they were all like 11 years old when they were in college. But if I could side with Dee on just one thing, Kate Bosworth, I think she's a great actress. And I think it's not that she's doing a bad job here. It's just that she's not believable, because even though she's 22, she could still probably play like a high school senior in a TV movie of the week. She just looks too young. And that's my main hang up with her. She just doesn't look right for the role.
She is better looking than Margot Kidder, though. That's for sure.
Honestly, I got to say, I didn't know that she was so young when she played the part. Didn't have a problem with the fact that she looked young. He looks young. I don't know how old he was, but they both look young, because this is the not the reboot, but like we're changing things up, and we got to bring, I mean, because we literally are, we're talking about something that's 20 years gone by being only 5 years. So you can't have them at the age that they were then. It doesn't make any sense. And to have Kate playing somebody that's 5 to 10 years older than she actually is. I mean, if she's 29, then it's not weird anymore, right? It's 24 and
yeah.
29.
I buy it. If she's 29, 28, I'm in.
Having a 22-year-old play a 29-year-old is not out of the realm of possibility at all.
It's not, if they can look 29, and she looks more 9 than 29. Sorry. She just looks like a kid running around this movie.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that have problems with her age. But where I think one of the major things that we're not really talking about is that there's not enough action in this movie.
No.
The airplane sequence is incredible. It is so awesome. I'm watching this going in the theater. I'm like, man, if this movie continues on from here, this will be the best Superman movie I've ever seen. And little did I know, but that was the last action sequence of the entire movie.
Well, let's hold on. We get the fun, Kitty, doing the whole crazy cars out of control, where we get the the nod to the comic cover.
That
We
was
get
cool.
Superman walking into a Gatling gun of 50 caliber bullets and then taking the
His
shot to the
eye.
eyeball. That's pretty cool.
He
Dude,
swings 0 punches, Jeff.
entire-
No punches are thrown.
You have the entire boat sequence where, I mean, I realize Superman isn't involved until he sweeps in to save the day like he's supposed to do, but that's intense. And if you go back to the first movie, there weren't that many. I mean, there were about as many of those scenes. Like the comparison I would make is the airplane scene in the first one is more like the helicopters. I mean, the airplane scene in Returns is more like the helicopter scene in the first one, although way better. And then the where he's chasing the rockets at the end of the first one is more akin to his. I mean, number one, he's getting beat up because he's experienced the kryptonite. I mean, you talked about not having bad guys, but I mean, having all three of the henchmen beating the crap out of him. They were wailing on him. And then he gets stabbed. I mean, this is all pretty intense stuff. And then you have the entire sequence with the boat where it looks like they're like father, son, or, supposed son, and
There's
and
some of these sons.
are all going down after a pretty intense kidnapping scene. I think probably pushing too hard on this. I mean, every movie doesn't have to be X-Men or a Marvel movie. Superman 1 wasn't, and I don't think that Superman Returns had to be a great movie.
Well, it did have to be to get a sequel, apparently. I didn't find the end sequence action packed at all. I didn't find this movie action packed at all. That one scene was awesome, and then the rest of it was kind of a snooze. And then one more thing that I had a problem with, nobody's mentioned it so far. I personally have a problem with it. And if we're going with the continuity of the Reeves movies, when Luthor puts that little chain around his neck with a little thing of kryptonite, he cannot swim. Like, he can't do anything. It is killing him. And yet somehow in this movie, he lifts a 5,000-ton piece of kryptonite and launches it into space. I'm not okay with that.
Well, there were
Yeah.
Not to mention he had just been stabbed and beaten up.
Okay, but there were hundreds of tons of regular Earth in between him and the kryptonite stuff above him, like hundreds of tons of it. In the original Superman, he has no ill effects until Lex Luthor opens the lid to the box. That's it. He is totally fine, totally powerful, feet away from this stuff. And its power is useless against him with just a tiny little lead lid.
Yeah, but he lifts a giant rock of kryptonite, though. That's the thing.
I'm going to be a nerd and just say, I'm with you, Jason, but I'll be a nerd and say, like, because it became a thing, it became new Krypton in the comic books, I'm okay with it. I can do that. And I know the movies and the comic books don't have to run side by side, but I can give you a pass on this one.
Okay.
If you're Bryan Singer.
Okay. All right.
But it needed more action.
Did it need more action?
No,
The movie didn't need more action.
it did not. I wouldn't have objected if it did, but I don't think that it needed more. I am of the school that you give doses of action sparsed out throughout a movie. You don't give me action after action after action. When you do that, you get Skywalker Rises or whatever the crap that movie was, where it is 100% action from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie, and I'm exhausted and uninterested, and it's just stupid because you've turned up the volume to 11 for the entire movie. I don't want that. Give me loud then quiet, loud then quiet. And they gave me plenty of nice loud scenes intermixed with good story. This is a well-made movie.
I agree it's a well-made movie, but I do have issues.
Okay, so I just have a question. I didn't actually dive down this rabbit hole, but there are a couple of slightly inappropriate questions that I have for you guys to know. I want to know if you know the answers to these.
This is our specialty.
Okay. So I had heard rumors, and this one I don't even really care to discuss this. I had heard rumors that there was some sort of, actually, never mind. I'm not even going to talk about that. What I heard was that Superman was packing. That is to say, Brandon Routh was packing, and they had to go in and digitally reduce the size of his Kryptonian package.
There were some issues with costuming. Early on, he looked a little too super, and they needed to. If memory serves, they had to, because the first off, we didn't mention this earlier, but the costume is freaking gorgeous.
Oh yeah,
in this movie, this is a fantastic costume, but I think they needed to suppress areas of his physique for it not to be so super.
They had to give him like a ballerina codpiece or something like that.
Something like, yeah.
Make it more uniformly smooth.
Yeah.
Super undies.
He needed some kryptonite Hanes. Is what he needed.
Well, God bless him. Good for him.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got one more issue I wanted to bring up, and I feel like I'm the only one really harping on this stuff. But when Luther goes to the Fortress of Solitude, number one, he gets in with basically no issues. Number two, when he goes in, all the crystals are there, all the information is there. Wasn't that all destroyed in Superman 2? Like when Clark went back to the fortress to try and like reach out to his dad, he's calling out Father, Father, and he happens to find that one crystal that Lois hid under her purse or whatever.
The green one, the one that
yeah,
started the whole process in the first place.
Did we repair the crystals?
If I could quote D, who was quoting Harrison Ford, it ain't that kind of movie, kid.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah.
And, well, look,
there was a subtle nod to the fact that he had been there before, because Kitty says,
yeah,
Lex, it's like you've been here before.
Mm-hmm. And you got to think, like, yeah, Superman's going to leave the door unlocked because he assumes that Luther, the only person that knows how to get there, is in prison for the rest of his life. So,
if he had gone into, if Lex had said, there's some Kryptonians kind of buried back in here that nobody ever finished off, maybe we could resurrect these guys. That would have been cool.
Maybe he was from the TV version where they went to jail instead.
Yeah, the North Pole Police, the rest of them, right? Oh man! All right. Anything else you got to get off your chest on this one?
So I wanna just briefly talk about this because I know that Jeff loves this movie because he told us before we got started that he's seen it 3 times, and I know that Jason's opinion of it is probably in the middle of Jeff and I. Because I do not share Jeff's opinion on this. But I want to give a warning to everybody else. If you haven't seen the new James Gunn Superman and you don't want spoilers, some might leak out in like the next 5 minutes, but we shan't go on too long about it. But can you tell me why you love this new Superman movie, Jeff?
Well, I went into it with very low expectations. So I think that definitely helped me. The whole year leading up to its release, I was on record saying the suit doesn't look good. I don't like this. I was picking it apart, but I also was like, the first teaser was like, we'll see. I still just don't know yet. But I think David Cornsweet did a fantastic job in the role. Definitely think we had an upgrade when it comes to Lois Lane. I really enjoyed her. It was a little bloated because of the Justice Gang and everything going on in the Pocket universe, maybe. But I trust in James Gunn. If anyone can do like a big ensemble movie, it's got to be James Gunn. So ultimately, I love the fact that they didn't use the exact John Williams score, but they took it and like John Murphy. You need a John if you're gonna do a Superman theme, I think. But John Murphy's score that heavily leaned on John Williams, I absolutely love that. I don't care what anyone says. Every scene with Krypto put a big smile on my face. I immediately wanted to go out and get a white dog, put a red cape on him. So it was just fun. I'm rambling, but I'll say this to close it out. I feel like when I left the theater, I felt that sense of hope.
What's the S stand for?
It's not an S. On my world, it means hope.
Just that positivity. I left with a big smile on my face. And as I looked around, everyone had a big smile on their face. It's a feel-good movie. And I think we were ready for it after the dark, and listen, I love Henry Cavill's Superman. I absolutely love it. But I just was ready to get some bright, positive, hopeful Superman stuff going again. So I think that's why I liked it so much. And again, like I've seen it 3 times in the theaters. Each time I've walked away just feeling good. Like there's pep in my step when I walk out of the theater having seen it. And Lex Luthor, Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And there's a quick, he has that moment where he's kind of saying, if you've seen it, Superman, he's flying around this stupid cape and this, he's really picking him apart. And I like that Kevin Spacey has a similar line in this movie to what Nicholas Hoult has. Because at the beginning, I think he says something along the lines of gods are selfish beings who, they fly around in little red capes and they don't share the power, and he goes Gene Hackman on us because he's like, I want to give power to the people, but I want my cut. So
Yeah.
I like that there was a subtle connective tissue between Nicholas Hoult and Kevin Spacey too.
Okay.
Why,
Jason?
just why did you not like it?
Well, I want to start with you. Tell me what your thoughts were on it.
Well, I agree with Jeff. I enjoyed the brightness, the colorfulness. I thought the kind of kooky characters, the Green Lantern people and stuff like that, I thought they were brought in. I thought Superman had a more interesting personality. I think he, I like my big blue Boy Scout. I like him very, very, I want him to drink milk and not roofie people and stuff like that. But he was cool and he was nice. He was fun. I liked his portrayal. David Corenswet's portrayal I thought was good. I had a good time. I mean, I thought it was fun. So it didn't blow my socks off, but I had a good time.
D, you love Superman. So what didn't you take away from this? What didn't do it for you?
There were a whole lot of things that I didn't like about this, and I had a similar perspective on it as you. When I first saw the costume, I was just like, what the heck? How does he not have a costume that fits? That doesn't even make any sense. And then the very first advertisement was with Crypto the dog, and I was like, a CGI dog, really? But then, as I had people come into my office, because I literally have I have like a 10-foot Superman painting on my wall, and they're like, have you seen the movie? And I'm like, no. And they're like, I can't believe you haven't seen it yet. You're the Superman guy. And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm sure I'll probably watch it eventually. And they're like, oh, it's my favorite one. And I had about 3 different people tell me it was their favorite one. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I love Guardians of the Galaxy. Love it. Watched it again with my kid last night. Loved it then too. So I thought maybe James Gunn can pull this thing off. And when I saw it, I had no problems with his costume. I had no problems with Crypto. I mean, yeah, I could tell it was CGI, but yes, he was fun. He was a great addition to the movie. My problem was with this ridiculous storyline that they had where Lex Luthor has the capacity to create a pocket universe, and he gives a flying flip about what Superman is doing. I mean, the stuff with the land, he gets half of the Middle East country or whatever that's going to be the Luthor thing is all a distraction, and that whole war that he's creating is all just a distraction. I was just like, what? This doesn't make any sense. And then I understand, that in the original Superman, we have Superman fly backwards around the Earth, and somehow scientifically that causes time to reverse. I know that doesn't make any sense time-wise, right? Like, doesn't make any sense science-wise. Nobody really did think that at the time, but even back then, we were a lot less educated about our science when it came to movies, right? Science has become an integral part of all of these superhero movies, and multiverses and all of these other things has become very important. And so when you do this part, when you decide to go there in a Superman movie and say, we've created a pocket universe that you can get through a portal, and then you create something called a proton river that flows into a black hole that disregards anything anybody with a basic science education knows, and the guys are swimming in a proton. Like, what is that? That's stupid. It's just, and the black hole experiences makes no scientific sense at all, and it's unnecessary. Like, why are you doing all of this stuff? It doesn't make any sense. Give me the story where we could have had in Superman 4, where he does create a clone Superman that is the one competitor against Superman, and give me the reveal at the end. I think that could have worked very well, and you didn't need all of this other bullcrap about the pocket universe. And I mean, guys, something that splits the world in half as the universe is dividing can be reversed with the flip of a switch. What? Are you kidding me? This is stupid. So I walked out of the theater going, meh. And the more I thought about it, I was just like, this is just not a good movie. And throw on top of that this dumb video game idea of Lex Luthor going L7, M3. I mean, the guy's too stupid to speak, but he has a litany of alphabet and numerical codes memorized and can enact them as though it's instantaneously in his mind, as fast as Superman is, who is as fast as Flash is. What? This is all just stupid. Make him smart enough to fight him. Don't make him stupid, right? Make him smart enough to fight on his own, not this video game controlled weird BS. So there you go. That's why I didn't like it.
Okay, I will concede that we didn't need the Mortal Kombat combo hit
karate chip
stuff happening, and I think we didn't need a pocket universe. You easily could have had, Superman history. We know there's a Belle Reve Supermax prison. We know there's Star Labs. Luther could have had like a compound where he's holding these people without it being a pocket universe. So I will concede that point too.
Yeah.
But I still had such a good time watching it.
Just to pile on, I realized that James Gunn went through a small moment where he got canceled for 5 minutes himself, but to have everybody revere Superman and in 3 seconds from the time that the news story breaks that his parents said something inappropriate to him, they're throwing cans at him and booing him and sending the army out to get him. What? I mean, guys, let's give the guy a little credit. He's been saving your life for the last 30 years. And all of a sudden, one little bad thing his mom and dad said, and now he's canceled. You hate him?
If I can counter.
That was a counter as well, Jeff. Keep going.
Because Jason, I think maybe I told you this because I know you said you had a problem with that. Think about it like this: in our world, in our reality, we love and adore Arnold Schwarzenegger. Maybe not as Mr. Freeze, as we learned last week, but Mr. Olympia, the presidential physical fitness test. He's the Terminator. He's Conan. We love Arnold, right? Mm-hmm. If in this day and age with social media and everyone finding out everything within minutes of it happening, if something was released right now that Arnold's father was a Nazi, because think about it, that was timely. If photos were released right now of Arnold's family in Nazi uniforms or anything like that, people would get really, really negative towards Arnold, I think. And then he would have to have his moment where he says, hey, I'm shocked. I didn't realize it myself. I condemn it. I'm not my father. And then we would slowly be won back over, kind of like how Superman, once we realize what Jor-El's message is and everyone turns on him, then he's got to own it. He's got to take responsibility, and then he slowly gets to win the people back over. So I kind of feel like it's like a situation like that.
By the way, I completely saw that plot point coming as soon as I heard that the message was garbled. I'm like, oh, yeah, I know what's going to happen here. And I was instantaneously like, I really don't want them to do what I'm very confident they're going to do, because it completely tarnishes Jor-El. Like, what the heck? What are you doing to my father of Superman? No,
I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it, but they did it on Smallville. They've done it in the comics before. It doesn't mean I have to like it, though. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this to kind of veer us back on topic here. Did Singer and Routh deserve a sequel?
I say yes.
Are you talking about the sequel titled Superman, Man of Steel, that was supposed to be shooting in 2009?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
You're damn right they deserve to have it.
Yeah.
Would have been an amazing film. Bryan Singer himself said, what we did with Superman Returns is Star Trek the Motion Picture. What we're going to do next is Wrath of Khan. And he was promising a lot more action. We were going to have Brainiac coming to town specifically to go after Jason. There was like a subplot where he wanted to basically inherit, like take over Jason's body as a host. We had Metallo, who was going to be like the secondary villain to have a slugfest with Superman. I think it was going to be awesome. It would have been awesome if Warner Brothers would have just let him go with it. Their excuse was, yeah, it was successful, but it didn't make $500 million. And he was on record going, well, it made $400 million. How much more success do you need? And then you got to keep in mind, like, the writer's strike happens at that time. That kicks the movie down a couple more years. And before you know it, the studios are looking at him going, hey, you know what we like about your sequel? We like the title. We like Man of Steel. So we're going to keep that. And we're just going to do a clean slate reboot. Yeah. And that's what happens.
I think it's criminal because this movie, I do think there's a case to be made that it is like Star Trek The Motion Picture. It's not as juiced up as I want it to be. There are some things that I didn't like about it, but it's so skillfully made and had so much potential to really ramp into something great. I wish they would have let him had his sequel and just to see what we would have gotten. I did enjoy the Henry Cavill movies, but man, I really wish I could have seen what they would have done if given a chance for the sequel to this movie.
And here's the thing about Brandon Routh. Even now, he looks fantastic in the suit. If you watch like the Arrowverse, like the CW shows, they did that whole Crisis on of Infinite Universes where he got to play the Kingdom Come version of Superman. He looks dynamite in the suit. He was and is a great Superman, in my opinion.
By the way, this movie made more money than Batman Begins. At the time, it was the second largest grossing DC comic movie behind Batman 89.
Wow.
The problem, I think, is that all of the crap before it was kind of held against it budget-wise. So the Tim Burton, Nick Cage movie that fell flat, the McGee movie that fell flat, the Brett Ratner movie that fell flat, all that.
Kevin Smith movie?
What's that?
There was a Kevin Smith movie also.
The Kevin Smith movie, right? Where John Peters wanted giant spiders or whatever. All of that was held against this movie's budget, which I think is really unfair. But you know, it is what it is.
I mean, the nice thing about the injustice that this movie has is the same nice thing about Batman and Robin, is that without them pulling the plug because of how it performed, whether they did it rightly or wrongly, we wouldn't have had Man of Steel with Henry Cavill, which we would be all lost without.
The tornado that leveled the buildings again.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got a quick question for you. All right. So now I have a kind of idea of where you guys are going to go on this, but if you're going to rank them, all right, you're going to rank these movies. You ready?
Yeah.
So obviously we've got Superman Returns, and we've got Batman and Robin, but throw into the mix Joss Whedon's Justice League and the new Superman movie. What's your ranking from best to worst?
Okay. So then in that case, buried hundreds of feet below the feet of Joss Whedon's Justice League would be Batman and Robin. And then above it, Superman Returns, and then above that, Superman. The 2025 Superman is what I would do. Okay. Jason?
Same. Exact same as Jeff.
All right.
So I would put Superman Returns on the top of this list.
Okay.
I would put, even though I obviously had a lot of dislike for it, I would put Superman, the new Superman, in second place. There were features of the movie that I did enjoy. It didn't make me angry until after I had time to really think it all through. So it must have done something right. I hate to say this, and I said it the last episode, so you know that it's true. I'd rather watch Batman and Robin again before I ever watch that Joss Whedon piece of crap.
Wow. I don't really.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay.
I saw it it was on at like the gym, like it was on the TV at the gym. And it was the part where Superman has just come back to life. And I suffered through watching all of their reactions and them talking for like 3 freaking minutes of unnecessary to wait for the one redeeming feature of the whole movie, where Flash takes off as he's got all of the rest of the guys in his hands, and Flash is running along, and as he's running at super speed and everything else is slow, you see Superman's eyes dart around to see him. I was like, that's the best part of this whole movie. Stop and watch that, and I don't want to see any of it ever again.
I cannot agree with you more, because that is such a menacing look he gives, and the reaction shot that the Flash has makes it, he's doing that crazy, and then, yeah, great moment. That's the best moment of that whole movie, I think. Yeah.
Okay, before we get to our final judgment, I asked our good friend and Superman expert, Mr. John Reed, to weigh in with his final judgment on these two movies.
Hey, this is John Reed from the 30-something Movie Podcast. I've been asked by my good buddies Dee and Jason from the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast to render a final judgment and share my thoughts on Superman Returns from 2006 versus Batman and Robin from 1997. So here we go. I still enjoy Superman Returns, even with all the criticisms. It feels like it's trying to honor the Donner movies. Some ways it does. Routh really shines, I think, as Clark Kent. I think he does a good job there. He's got that shy awkwardness down perfectly. His Superman, though, a little more brooding and distant than inspiring, which doesn't always work for me. Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor has the right energy, but too much of his dialogue feels like it was copy-pasted straight from the Donner movies. One thing I do appreciate is that it introduces the idea that maybe Superman isn't really the last son of Krypton. The story starts with him coming back from that 5-year trip to reconnect with his heritage, which is a cool angle, but it doesn't quite have the connective tissue to make it a solid storyline. I wish they had done more with that. Then there's that awkward little piece from Superman 2 where he erased Lois's memory. Just a few weeks later, she's going to end up pregnant with his superchild. Feels like it deserves a little bit more than just, hey, don't look behind the curtain kind of a deal. That said, the airplane rescue scene, one of my favorite Superman moments in any movie. That sequence captures the awe, the power, the heart of Superman in a way that few other scenes ever have. It's amazing. Batman and Robin from 1997, on the other hand, is just a mess. I find it to be insulting as a comic book fan. It's campy without the excuse of being from the 1960s when camp was kind of expected. Instead, you get neon suits, ice skates on the Batmobile, and villains who are more embarrassing than fun. Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze is just endless ice puns. Uma Thurman hams it up as Ivy. And Bane, a really great villain in the comics that I always really enjoyed, reduced to a grunting sidekick. So even the heroes come off stiff and awkward in this one. It is not charming camp. It is cringe camp, as the kids say. So this one, to me, almost the height of insulting when it comes to comic book movies. So yeah, my final judgment, Superman Returns may be divisive, but at least it has some sincerity. It has some ambition, and it has a few moments of genuine greatness. Batman and Robin is just hollow. It's just spectacle. In fact, after titling the last movie Batman Forever, I wish they would have titled this one Batman Never. So Superman Returns gets my vote.
All right, well, we on to final judgment between Batman and Robin and Superman Returns?
Yeah, I think we kind of tipped our hands on that already.
Mm-hmm. All right, D, you're up, man. We can see this one coming.
Yes, Superman Returns is a great movie and not worthy of any of the criticism that it's received. Batman and Robin, it was a bad choice, and I'm glad I didn't watch it in the 90s because I probably would have been mad at it, and the way it turned out, it was kind of like Last Action Hero. I got to watch it knowing that everybody hated it and that it was a total zig at the point he should have definitely zagged. Go light when you should have gone dark. So I got to go, okay, well, I'm watching the 1966 Batman and Robin, and it's going to be fun for that reason. So yeah. It's still not it's not a good movie. If it was on, I wouldn't turn it off if I was doing other stuff, I suppose. How about that?
Oh man. Jeez Louise. Okay, Jeff, help us out here.
Listen, you don't need X-ray vision to see which one's the better movie here. I would say that Superman Returns, it's a good film. It really is. And you guys have the What the Heck Happened series has like that sister series, the Is It Worth the Rewatch? I kind of feel like Superman Returns could almost jump onto that episode series. It's Superman Returns without a doubt. The only way that I really could watch Batman and Robin again is if Supergirl gave me a super smooch and I forgot that I had seen it. And I'll watch it.
And Jeff peels off the rubber lips. Oh no.
Hope that movie sucks still.
All right, well, I'm going to make it a trifecta. Superman Returns is way better than Batman and Robin. Batman and Robin took me 4 tries to get through it. It was a piece of crap in 97. It's a piece of crap now. It's a total turd. It is not even worth watching. I do think it is a movie that should be appreciated because it was the tornado that leveled the buildings that we then built the Marvel Universe on and all that stuff. Superman Returns, I believe that I'm the one who has the most problems with it, but I don't know if it's the sins of Superman 2 that are coming back to bite me a little bit, but the idea that Lois got super kissed and somehow has a child, and I have a problem with how all of that went down. I think that's not my big blue Boy Scout, but for this matchup, Superman Returns is a skillfully, beautifully made movie. It's just got a few chinks in the armor. in my opinion.
I really am very happy that the needle has moved for you significantly on Superman Returns.
It has.
You did not feel this way until we did this rewatch, right?
True. I had revisited it since the movie theater. So
hey D,
yes.
Can I try to move the needle for you?
Okay.
One last time with Lois Lane. Let me give you 3 age-appropriate, talented actresses in 2005 that we could have had if Kate Bosworth had not done the Kevin Spacey movie with him prior. And let me see if you think any of these 3 ladies is a better fit. I'm going to give you Kristen Ritter, who you would know her as Jessica Jones in the current MCU. I'll give you Anne Hathaway, and then lastly, I'll give you Allison Brie. Any of those 3 ladies?
Allison Brie, is she the one? Was she on like that? What was the show with the witches? What was that called?
No, she played Annie on Community. Current wife to Dave Franco.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to look her up. I think you look her up, and you're gonna go, yep, that's Lois.
Jeff, what do you guys got coming up on your next episodes?
Hey, I hope you guys and the listeners are ready for some football because we are kicking off week 1 of the NFL's return with a little movie called The Replacements, a film by Howard Deutsch.
E, what we got coming next, man?
Okay, so we've got one of our very special episodes coming up next. It's one of our top 5 episodes. We're picking the top 5 songs of 1980, a unique year in the history of music, a transition year, if you will, but there were still some bangers out there, and I'm excited to talk to you about those. You'll tell me your 5, I'll tell you my 5, and we'll try to guess what they are. And then after that, we have comparison of a couple of great albums, Chicago 17 versus Survivor, Vital Signs, both of them mega hits. Excited to compare these 2 bands. I think it's going to be a great episode.
Awesome. We will see you guys back here next week. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you
guys. If you guys are watching on our YouTube channel, we're like 3 people away from having 500 subscribers. So if you would hit that subscribe button, you could be the 500 subscriber and win mountains and piles of our gratitude and respect.
Thanks, guys. We will see you back here next week.
Bye, guys. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, guys. I hope you guys and the listeners are ready for some football because we are kicking off week 1 of the NFL's return with a little movie called The Replacements, a film by Howard Deutsch.
Mr. Leah Thompson, I believe, right?
Wait.
Isn't he married to Leah Thompson?
I don't know. Tune in next week and we'll let you know. That might be one of the 3 bits of trivia we talk about. Maybe.
That's funny.